Hey, it's another Backstage Pass here on Rockin' Retirement. So we are actually going to combine two questions on the Backstage Pass today. Both of them have to deal with kind of age gaps in marriages, a little bit different scenarios, but figured we'd tackle both of these questions together, Janine. So first one comes to us from Tess. Let's take a look at Tess's question first, and then we'll get to Valerie's question. So Tess says, my husband is 11 years older than me, and I probably have better genes than he does as well. Tess is honest, at least. So it seems likely that I'll be a widow for a significant portion of my retirement years. Very realistic, this Tess. What sort of financial planning challenges does this create for me? I'm sure this is not the first time you've kind of encountered this scenario, Janine.
Yeah, so there are a lot of unanswered questions in the question.
Yeah.
For instance, how much have you saved together? How old are you now? How healthy are you now? Because even though you have, everybody can say I have longevity in my family, but whether you actually end up having longevity
sure.
can depend on a lot of things.
Right. Yeah.
So, it's good to plan if you have a spouse that's, a 10-year window older than you or more. I would look at, okay, what kind of life insurance does he have in place? Mm-hmm. If he dies tomorrow, what does that look like for you? If you both end up living, a long time, and he's 90 and you're 80, I actually know a few couples like that. So he's now 91. So, it's good to just look at, okay, what are the numbers that are going into what you're considering? And then see, okay, how is that going to work out? Or if something happens prematurely, and prematurely is all relative, to all of us. What does that look like for you? What are you trying to replace an income? Whose income? Double income? So then you have to factor in, okay, Social Security's pensions, distributions from any portfolios. What's that all look like? And then who owns what? And do you have any legacy intent? So do you have heirs that you want to leave money to? If not, different question, or different scenario. But yeah, and then this is the odd one. Sometimes it's the younger spouse who goes first. Because I've had that happen.
Yeah,
to
you
clients.
Have a plan for that situation.
So where somebody is, 6, 8 years younger and gets cancer and leaves the older spouse. So, and it's just a different scenario. A lot of it will, the outcome of that will a lot of times depend on what family do you have locally that can help, friends, et cetera. So you need to look at a lot of things in your considerations of what that should look like.
It sounds like the challenge is to actually broaden the viewpoint for Tess, so that it's almost like there's too many assumptions being made in this question. And so your challenge, Tess, is actually assuming that you're kind of already asking the leading questions of like, he's going to die first. So what does that mean for my retirement plan? And you're kind of pumping the brakes on that, Janine. And I think that's valuable to say, well, hold on a second, because let's not put all of our eggs in one basket to creating a plan that's going to just work for that scenario. We need to kind of actually peel back a little bit here and say, do we have a solid financial plan that can cover any eventuality?
That's right. That's right. Because if you're over 62, let's just say, or over 60, the likelihood, if you're both healthy, is one of you is going to live to 92. If you stay married. That's just the statistic. And we all know what statistics are. So, but you really do need to look at what are the different scenarios that could happen and what would be the outcome, and what would you like to have as the outcome? And a lot of people, it's math, but there's also an emotional component to that a lot of people struggle with. Yeah. So having somebody you can sit down and have this conversation with is really important.
Yeah.
Very much. It's not just interested in selling you an annuity. Oh, yeah. Let's go do this because it's the product that will serve all needs. That's not the case. It's, what do I want to have happen with my whole picture?
So don't look for that magic bullet, Tess. All right. Well, that dovetails nicely into our next question then. So our other Backstage Pass question asker is Valerie. Valerie says, my husband died 15 years ago. So a little bit different scenario here. Age gap, but husband has deceased. I've dated but never considered getting married again until now. My boyfriend's house would work better for us than mine, so I'd move in with him. But it makes me really nervous to sell my house and start combining finances because I've been doing things independently for so long now. How do you advise people in a situation like this?
Whoa,
More and more of these second, third marriages now, right?
Yes, quite a few, because there's a phenomenon known as the Great Divorce that is happening everywhere. But in your case, your husband's deceased for quite some time, so you're used to independent mode, I'm going to assume. Before you jump into another relationship, there are so many questions here. Is he younger? Is he older? By how much? What do his finances look like? Are you willing to then, just merge these finances? Really? I mean, how long have you known the guy? There are a lot of red flags that come up for me just because there's so many horror stories.
You've seen people get burned in a situation like this.
Yeah, I've seen people get burned. So I would kind of slow roll any decision to just move in without some long-term commitment. I know some people are very anxious about that, and they think it doesn't matter, that marriage doesn't matter later in life. It does. And because there's a commitment to the future. I don't want to get all philosophical, but if you're just moving in with somebody and you're just living with them, you're just committing for the present. Committing for the future is a different ballgame, and you need to be on the same page on a lot of things to make this work, especially since you've been single for 15 years.
Yeah.
So I want to know more about this guy.
Right. Well, and also, like, I don't know how old you are, Valerie, but let's just say 60, just picking a number out of thin air. Well, maybe a generation or two ago, getting remarried at 60, relatively rare, but even when it did happen, those marriages weren't lasting a very long time. Like, there was going to be another one of you probably passing away sometime during the early part of that marriage, just the way life expectancies were. But as you know, we talk all the time about people living a long time now. And so now if you're getting married again at 60, you might still be committing, you just dropped the data a few minutes ago, for another 30 years of being with that person, a whole nother lifetime, a whole nother, really solid, lengthy marriage with somebody. So yeah, that is a long-term commitment.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is it's so difficult. Nobody can forecast these kinds of things. I do have a client who lost his spouse after they retired, and he, found a lady friend, and I was just talking with him this year, and this lady friend didn't last very long because she died of cancer. So he's decided to move closer to friends and some family. And I thought that was a good idea because he's in his early mid 70s. And it's just, your age depends, is a factor here. And your friend's age is a factor. But all these things, you need to talk through whether that makes sense for you to do something like that, to basically make your finances, I don't want to say subservient, but it's merging, and then, who has control of what. Yeah. At this point.
Yeah. Have you been together long enough to have that trust in how those things are going to get commingled and handled when there's conflict? Just all those, I don't know, it's kind of like go back to your 20s again and start talking in terms of that life partner, like go through that same, hopefully, level of scrutiny that maybe you did at a younger age. Do it again now. I think that's all good advice. So yeah. Good question. Thanks, Valerie. Thanks, Tess. Welcome to the Backstage Pass, and good questions. If you've got a question for Janine, we can feature it on the YouTube channel, or you can talk to her one-on-one. Call 443-718-6311 to set up a time to visit, or go to theuswealthadvisors.com. You can book a chat with Janine online very easily. We'll link to that contact info in the description of today's show, so check it out there. Thanks, Janine. Appreciate the help.
Thanks, Walter. Talk to you soon.
Information is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, investment, or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action.